Today we're going to talk about the Ukraine war. So I'm going to start. Will there be a winner? And who are mostly the primary victims of any conflict? In any war, no one really is a winner, in my humble opinion, because the effects on our societies is detrimental, and children are mostly the primary victims. I want you to think of me, with me. What kind of society are we expecting in the future? We talk about tolerance, diversity, and hot topics about humanity and equality. But what do we really see happening on the ground? Is it any close? Because what we preach in the media is not really close to the reality and what people are experiencing in real life. According to the UNHCR, children below 18 years constituted 50% of the refugee population in just 2013, probably the highest figure in a decade. And now that we are in 2022, more wars coming up like that in Ukraine. More than 2 million children have already fled Ukraine from the country's existing 7.5 million children who are under risk and direct threat. What does that tell us? It means that 50% will definitely increase to include more than half of our population's children who will suffer the consequences of war and the aftermath. We all know that children need all our care and attention to grow in a healthy environment, and in times of war, when parents, caregivers, or orphanage staff are endangered, lost, or occupied in trying to survive and seek all the protection they need to be alive, children might lose that adult protection, and in most times, they can become unaccompanied children, as they are known in refugee situations. What do children lose in wars? Their life, as we have seen previously for the past years, as we have seen in the history of the world, death caused by weapons, health hazards, or even by dangerous transportation on rail or by the sea. I know that you all saw the war in Syria and how many children died and the tragic stories of death and sorrow. I don't know about you, but I still remember that image of that child with the red shirt who drowned in the sea and was left on the shores. That image still haunts me and still breaks my heart until this day. In Ukraine, we hear daily news of trauma and death. The 10-year-old girl, Polina, who was reportedly shot dead while trying to flee the capital in a car with her family. And she is just one of thousands of children who are suffering in Ukraine. Talking about injury, disabilities, and more that are happening daily. Children account for the majority of these civilian casualties. And they don't mostly die from the weapons themselves, but actually from preventable diseases that aren't prevented or treated because of the health systems and infrastructures that have been destroyed, or because of the scarcity of nutrition, water, safety, sanitation, and housing. Those children and adults who manage to survive lose the rights to their future in many times, and the children lose the rights to education, especially those who are forced into refugee or displaced persons camps, waiting for the dream of a normal life. And in many times, it's staying as a dream. Psychological suffering, the terror and horror that children experience in such situations will always leave a scar of depression and anxiety that accompanies them to adulthood. And we ask ourselves sometimes, why is there so much violence in this world? It's estimated that there are tens of thousands of young people under 18 forced to serving in militias in about 60 countries as child soldiers, because abuse and exploitation can easily happen and will be unaccounted for because of the lack of protection services and because in a state of war, everyone is busy trying to survive. Wars can only bring tragedies and destroy our communities, societies, and economies. And I'm not talking about only one country. I'm talking about the world. When adults are extremely affected, children and the youth are the primary victims because their future will never be the same again. I want you all to please look out for charities that are supporting refugees, refugee children. You can do that wherever you are in the world. Now that we are in a world that has never been more interconnected, we can all reach each other. We can reach each other and support each other in any way possible. And for those of you in Europe, please do reach out to NGOs and charities who are supporting the families. You can even reach out directly to families and maybe sponsor a child and change their path forever and give them a new beginning. The world has never been more interconnected. I repeat that so many times to even myself, because we can reach anywhere we want and everywhere we want and support so many people. We can all do something to aid humanity because it is a small world after all. I want you all to give your opinion on this war. What do you think will happen? And how do you think we can support the families, the children? I know some people, I've heard so many views about some people supporting a particular party in this war. And I understand each person's point of view. But I just want you to all remember that this war is affecting not only Ukraine or Russia, but the world. And it will affect us in the near future, in our economies, in our societies, in our communities, in a time that we really need so much peace. So I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I'm going to answer all your messages and your comments after this live. And I'm wishing you all the best and looking forward to seeing you all very, very soon.